Hello and greetings, fellow StarCrafters, and welcome back to game number 3 between TSO Polt, the blue Terran player, up here in the sort of upper right corner, and the other sort of upper right corner is, of course, his opponent, mouz Thorzain, up here in the top right corner. Top right corner, I suppose. And this is going to be Shattered Temple, the updated version of Lost Temple, able to keep it inside the map pool. Of course, this map dates back to the Brood War days, and has gotten many really big revisions, actually. I don't think it's even on the... No, it is. Shattered Temple's on the ladder pool. Of course it is. But Lost Temple was taken off the ladder pool for a little while before it was updated and released and made a little bit better. Unfortunately, it's not called Lost Temple anymore, which makes me a little sad, as it was a Brood War map. And even the Brood War map actually had some problems. I believe in the early version of the Brood War map, from this expansion, with the siege tank on the edge, you could actually hit your opponent's gas. I believe in the initial version, and then it was updated, of course, so that was no longer possible, because that's just a little unfair, as you can't really defend against that. And losing your gas in that game is twice as important because there is only one of them. Looks like this SCV is going to go on patrol and just spaz out just a little bit, bouncing back and forth before he lays down the barracks right there. Meanwhile, an identically timed barracks from TSO Polt. I think they're actually to the second. No, actually, Thorzain's is a little bit slower. So I'm not sure if there was a little bit of SC micro or he just happened to place it a little bit sooner. And it looks like his next XCV is going to build a supply depot and not a gas. So he's going to be going for a gasless fast expand. Very interesting choice on this particular map, as it's a relatively close spawns on this map, so it's going to be a little bit harder to hold, depending on exactly what Thorzain decides to do for harassment. Of course, if Thorzain is not too successful with his harassment, he is going to fall a little bit behind because he doesn't have that expansion. And I really like that rally, actually, straight into the gas. That's really interesting. That times perfectly well to be able to do that, actually. So the gas is going to go ahead and start churning and churning. This SCV is going to go against the cliff, because when he realizes that the ramp is blocked, he apparently decides that going into the cliff is the next best chance of getting inside of that base. SCV will be able to harass an SCV, but looks like he's choosing not to, and the supply depot is going to come down just after that SCV gets inside of the base and spots the gas. Spots that it is not an early gas, which is important in terms of timings and seeing exactly what's going on. Reactor actually going down right now. Not exactly sure what the reactor's for, and a little repair going on for that SCV right there, taking a little bit of damage from his opponent's SCV. But that SCV is being backed into a corner right now. He has no chance of escape. That Marine could be nice and save that SCV's life and have him further indebted to him for his life, but he chooses not to and kills that SCV in an unmerciless fashion. This Marine just dancing around. I think he took the watchtowers and decided to head on home, just to make sure that he doesn't get caught flat-footed by a Reaper or something like that, which would be able to take him out pretty quickly. So I wonder... So he's getting a reactor. Oh, it's actually probably a similar build to the build that we saw... Well, that wasn't Thorzain, was it? Oh, it was Thorzain. Yeah, so a build that we saw in the White Rock games, if you watch that series, where he gets the barracks with the reactor, then the factory, and then the starport, and gets kind of a late Banshee. Although it's off of a single gas. He's getting a second gas, so it remains to be seen exactly what build he is doing. But TSO Polt's command center is actually on the way, so he should be in a good position to expand soon, of course, as you generally want to do with a gasless fast expand. And he also opted for the double gas almost immediately after that command center. I think he got the barracks first. No, he did not get the barracks first. Okay, so yeah, he got the gas immediately after expanding, as you want to try to catch up on gas, and especially you want to try to start something like Stim Pack to make sure you don't fall too far behind on Stim Pack, since the research time is so long. It could take a long time to catch up for that. Looks like another reactor is coming down on the factory. That's just going to be for the starports. So the starport can start producing Vikings. And actually, Thorzain still hasn't expanded, huh? I would have, if I was Thorzain and I saw that super early supply depot coming down from Polt, I would have guessed that he is actually going for a command center first build, which means generally that you want to try to aim for a little bit of aggression here, and it's possibly he's going for drops. He's going to go double medevac. He is going to go double medevac. But these Marines aren't going to be too effective. Actually, they could be. Alright, well, we'll see exactly what transpires here, as he will have a Hellion as well, and Hellions, of course, are quite good against Marines. But it's kind of a weird push. I've never really seen this, especially against a fast-expanding player, and Thorzain is going to want to try to work in a... Ooh, is that going to get spotted? Alright, well, he sees something producing out of the medevac. He doesn't see exactly what it is, though, but that is a pretty good scan. Going to reveal basically exactly what's going on, as he's going to know that a drop is possible. His Marines are moving back to be able to deal with possible drop situations. So that is a pretty early starport right here, and Thorzain is going to go ahead and drop right in the middle here. Polt should be ready. His Marines are not quite moving in right now. Now, the medevacs are extremely useful in this sort of situation, as the Marines, I mean, even though they don't have stim, you really do want to be able to heal them during combat, as they don't deal too much damage to each other as long as they don't have stim in these sorts of situations. Able to supply block Polt, very big deal right there, and should position his Marines exactly right there, so he has a very nice concave. That siege tank, though, is going to be very helpful right now for Polt in terms of holding off this attack. No expansion from Thorzain is going to prevent this attack from really doing the maximum amount of damage it's really going to want to, as the fact that he did a good amount of damage to the SCVs is going to become irrelevant for the fact that his opponent has an expansion. Double mules and double SCV production is really going to hamper any kind of success that he's having in this particular game. It's possible he's going to be aiming for an all-in attack, and in fact that's what it's looking like right now, is siege mode and a second siege tank have started already. And Thorzain is actually getting close to 400 minerals right now, so he might be plopping down a command center and attacking, doing some sort of soft contain on his opponent to try to make sure he doesn't fall too behind economically, but it looks like maybe he's going to be opting for an all-in. I really wouldn't recommend this all-in. I don't think it has too high of a probability of success, as it really has to do a lot of damage to really catch up here, but looks like it is not going to be an all-in. He is going to be expanding behind this, so he should be safe, and he is going to be starting a little bit of a soft contain on his opponent. He will have 2 siege tanks with siege mode by the time they get there, as well as that Viking out. Where's that Viking? Oh, that looks like the Viking was actually taken out. He can produce Vikings 2 at a time, though, and we'll be able to take out Polt's Viking right there with some nice Viking micro. Actually, Polt's micro was just a little bit better there, but it doesn't matter, as that Viking was one shot down. So even though Polt was firing just a little bit faster, it ended up not mattering at the end. Siege mode is now done, and Thorzain, where's his Viking? Looks like he's going to repair that Viking and then set it on down. Additional Vikings are also being produced on the side of his base. And that Hellion should be able to move up and stop that command center orbital command from landing. 2 siege tanks from Polt are also going to be out as well, not to be too redundant there. But he does not have siege mode, which is a big difference here, as Polt's going to be very far behind on siege mode. These tanks are going to siege up, and that's going to prevent Polt from really coming down here. And I think, yes, exactly, those are perfectly placed siege tanks. Actually, not quite perfect. Probably you want to move them back just a little bit, as that way, if you don't have Vikings spotting this little cliff right here, you can still make sure that your opponents can't really move forward with the siege mode. However, this way he can actually take out the supply depot, so he should move with the medevac forward. As there's the Viking moving across. Viking is going to just kind of hang out just outside of range, moving the Vikings just a little bit too cautious here, actually, as he really wants to start dealing damage to that supply depot. There's not really much of a disadvantage in doing so. Vikings are moving around. I think they're trying to avoid combat with the other Vikings, especially wants to make sure he does not lose them to the Marines right here. Siege mode is going to finish very soon right now for Polt. Looks like that siege tank is going to try to hang on a little bit closer. Oh, that siege tank is going to be in range. However, siege mode for Polt is going to finish very soon. He's going to move out of range and then siege up. Okay. So just to make sure that he is in a good line there. That's a very nice line to make sure that your opponent can't really move forward against you. Thorzain does have vision of those siege tanks, and I think he can take out the barracks. No, that barracks lifted off and moved back, but he was able to take out the supply depots, which is very nice. Polt is also supply blocked right now, and is in basically a reverse situation from the first game. However, those siege tanks able to scan and take out that that one siege tank that was in fact in range right there. And actually, Thorzain is really producing a lot of Vikings right now. Not quite sure why he's opting to do that. Command center, orbital command rather, in the expansion is finished. That's a very nice job. Polt drop here, though, is going to deal a good amount of damage. Takes out 2 SCVs, 3 SCVs, 4, but there's really nothing back here to really deal with this. I think he's just going to have to land these Vikings and then engage with the Marines as well as the SCVs right here, which should be able to really finish that off. That siege tank is going to be able to help as well. And I think the Vikings will then lift off pretty soon and then just focus down the medevac while the siege tank finishes off the rest of the forces down here. Nothing too exciting happening. Looks like the medevac is taken out, but a good amount of damage has been done now to Thorzain's SCVs. Thorzain is ahead on supply right now, though. By about 15, so he's in a pretty good position. He does have less siege tanks than his opponent. Looks like Polt is going to move forward and siege up as the Vikings are now out of position right here, and he's going to be able to take out both of those siege tanks almost immediately. That's going to put a swift end to this little expansion, and his Marines are really far behind on upgrades actually right now, as Polt has Polt has combat shields almost finished and stim already finished, whereas Thorzain has not started either of those, so he's going to be in big trouble in any sort of major engagement. His opponent also has 6 siege tanks to his 1 siege tank, I think. 1 siege tank, which is going to make engaging here very difficult and troublesome for Thorzain. Stim alone is a huge advantage for Polt right here, and especially if he doesn't move his forces, he's going to kind of caught in a lot of trouble. Ooh, Polt opts not to stim there, as his opponents do have combat, his Marines do have combat shield, as well as the 6 siege tanks there. I think he definitely would be able to win that engagement. He doesn't know that his opponent doesn't have stim. He can maybe infer at this point. It's hard to say exactly, but we've seen some very nice control in terms of siege tanks. It looks like the Vikings are actually going to drop down here. Not sure exactly which combat to watch. Pretty exciting. He left the, oh my god, he left the siege tanks alone. He was microing the Vikings and left the siege tanks alone. That might be game right there, folks. As these Vikings are going to have to lift up and head on back. They're going to maybe try to drop on top of the siege tanks, but it's really not going to do too much as, oh, Polt has already posted the reps here, which is basically the offensive GG that we see. He's going to maybe pick off the medevacs right here, but it's not going to do too much as Marines without stim are really just not going to be able to, and Thorzain's actually just going to have to GG out of this game, yeah. As the siege tank right there was able to take out that other siege tank, but, I mean, Marines without stim engaging against siege tanks is like, you just want to like pull your hair out. You need like 100 Marines to every siege tank. Not really, but like when there's 6 siege tanks, which is really, really difficult to deal with as a Terran player, it's just so hard to engage with Marines without stim, especially without stim and combat shields, guarded by Marines with stim and combat shields against a huge group of siege tanks. So it's a very nice job from Polt, able to kind of get Thorzain multitasking there as he was trying to do the little cute little Viking drop, but unfortunately he didn't have anything spotting actually this little section right here for his siege tanks. So Polt was able to just slide on up, take out both siege tanks, and then thus winning him the game there. And oh wow, yeah, if you want to see what a siege tank blast looks like, look at that. Let's get a round trip view of that one. Vikings are kind of in the way there, but wow, that's a really nice blast. I definitely wouldn't want to be in the receiving end of that. And actually, the siege supply depot is being taken out by that blast. That's pretty cool. Kind of see debris flying and stuff like that. Yeah, so if you want to wonder what it's like to be hit by a siege tank blast, that's hitting the Marines right there, and they don't take 2 of those to go down. So yeah, it's pretty impressive there. And another one over here, actually. Nice debris just kind of flying around. I love the little freeze frame aspect of replays. But anyway, looks like TSO Polt was able to win the game and the series, winning the best of 5, 3-0, and absolutely crushing Thorzain here. But Polt's an extremely good player, and this definitely doesn't take away anything from Thorzain, as, you know, the first game was basically just a build order loss. But anyway, ended up Polt winning 3-0, so very impressive series, and I'll definitely be looking for MSI Cups in the future. This is PG on Minecraft, signing out.